so that you won't be a statistic like myself. To give you a little bit of more background about who I am, also, I became an advocate. After my battle with breast cancer, I really wanted to be the voice for women, for Black women, for young Black women, because I don't want our next generation to have to hear the words, it's cancer in their lifetime. And so what I do is I founded a nonprofit organization called My Style Matters, and we provide support and services to women who are affected by this disease. And we also educate women about breast health and breast cancer through our Breast Health Matters program. And so I became a member or advisory board member of the Non-Toxic Black Beauty Project, which I'm going to talk a little bit about today. I also became an advisory member of the Bench to Community organization, as well as the Black Beauty Justice, because it's very important for us to talk about ways that we can make safer choices and healthier choices, and particularly in our community. And today you're going to hear a lot about these things that we're talking about. So when we look at our health, oftentimes we put a lot of emphasis on the things that we're putting in our body. What are we consuming? From the beverages we drink, the food that we eat. We are always talking about, hey, you got to eat healthy, you got to eat this, you got to do a plant-based diet, and all of those things, which are great. But there's one critical element that we forget that really needs our attention. It deserves our attention. And that is what we're putting on our bodies. When we look at the things that we're using and putting on our bodies and what we get exposed to, each and every day, we're exposed to hundreds and hundreds of chemicals. And on an average, a woman uses 12 products a day. And I want you to do me a favor. In the chat, I want you to type in, think about how many products you're using a day, and just type in the chat a number. Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 12? Is it more? How many products are you using a day? So on average, a woman uses 12 products a day, and that's from hair care products to, makeup products to the body, personal care items, lotions, things of that nature that we're using. Think about how many are you using each and every day. Well, we also need to look at the chemical exposures for men, because one thing we do know is men can get breast cancer too. And so men, while they're not being exposed to as much as women on a daily basis, men are being exposed to about 85 chemicals on a daily basis. When we look at teens are being exposed to on an average of 17 personal care products daily. And when we look at children or adolescents, they're being exposed to about 27 chemicals a day through their body care products. Now, I asked you to post in the chat, and I see some numbers popping up in the chat, so thank you so much for your engagement. When we look at that number, 12 products a day, that is equivalent to 168 chemicals that we're being exposed to on a daily basis. Ladies, gentlemen, this is a problem. Why is it a problem? Because a lot of the chemicals that we're being exposed to are actually putting us a greater at risk for many different health conditions. Now, these substances that we're exposing ourselves to, they're called toxins, or you may also hear the word toxicant. And they can, again, these are substances that affect our body, and they can be naturally made or they can be man-made. And what we're seeing is there has been a rise in the chemical registry over the past several years. So the more chemicals that are being registered, we're also seeing the health impact increase. So we've seen a rise of obesity, a rise of fertility issues, allergies amongst, adults and children. We're seeing severe chronic illnesses, again, with children as well as adults, preeclampsia, low birth weight, and early onset puberty. These things are affecting our bodies. So you're probably saying, okay, Tia, where are they found? They're found pretty much everywhere. They're pesticides, the plastics, our clothes, our furniture, secondhand smoke, cleaning products, baby products, the environment, air pollution, our home. They're just everywhere. Processed foods, tobacco, smoking, our personal care items. They're found everywhere. And how are we exposed to them? Well, there's several different ways. There's eating and drinking. There's our skin. And by the way, our skin is our largest organ, and breathing. And I have to chuckle because oftentimes I hear women say, well, I use perfume, but I don't spray it directly on my skin. I spray it on my clothes, but guess what? You're still inhaling that. You're breathing it in. And when we're breathing it in, one thing we do know, it's going to our lungs and eventually going into our bloodstream. So we're still being exposed. So I want you to be in the know, and I'm going to share a few things with you that may be some startling numbers that you'll see. So when we look at the number of chemicals, cosmetic ingredients that have been banned in the European Union, they have banned over 1,300 cosmetic ingredients. In the US, we've only banned 11. When we look at out of the 80,000 synthetic chemicals, only 10% of those chemicals of the cosmetic ingredients have actually been evaluated or tested for safety. And many of these products are what they call endocrine disruptors, or EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals. And we'll talk about that in just a few. It's been 80 years outside of last year. It's been 80 years since a law was actually passed, a major law that was passed around the safety of these cosmetic ingredients. Last year, they just actually passed the Modernization of Cosmetic Regulation Act of 2022. It went in effect this year, and pretty much what this law talked about was we need more transparency around the products that we're using. Because we read the labels, but everything on that label or everything in that product is not necessarily on that label. And everything on that label, we may not have full transparency to. So we'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. And then, as I mentioned, men can get breast cancer too. And what we're finding is that there is a rise in the market for men's personal care items. So ladies, when you're thinking about your husbands, your partners, your sons, your brothers, your fathers, uncles, we need to also think about what impact will this have also on men, because we're seeing a growth in the personal care market for men. Now, scientists have found that the timing of which we're exposed to those toxic chemicals that I mentioned plays a major role in terms of how it affects our health. So when we look at prenatal development, childhood, puberty, and pregnancy, the more that we're exposed to these toxic chemicals, the greater the risk factor becomes as we get older with our health. And did you know that Black women spend twice as much on our skincare products than any other race? As a matter of fact, when it looks at the cosmetic industry overall, we spend 9 times more than any other race, yet we have the highest toxic load. And as I mentioned, I talked about the men's products, but also when we look at these products are being marketed to us. And the products that are being marketed to us, unfortunately, they have some of the worst chemicals in their products. Here's an example. This is an application that I use, and I can show it to you. We'll talk a little bit about it as well. It's called Clearia. And Clearia will allow you to scan take a picture of the actual ingredients on the products, and it will tell you what's wrong with that product. Well, there were several women and girls that were using Just For Me, which is a relaxer. They also have a whole line of hair care products for young girls. And they actually have some of the worst chemicals in their products. Sadly, and when I say we're being marketed to, sadly, when you look at these products, these young girls, they have beautiful hair. And many of us looked at that and say, I want to look just like that little girl. Or with regards to us being adults, I want to get my daughter's hair straight and look pretty like the young girl. Well, these girls didn't even have a perm at all. They never even used the relaxers in their hair. So that's a problem. We're being marketed to. And when you look at the information that's presented at the bottom, these 3 images, it's telling us what's wrong with this product. This product was, one of the chemicals was actually banned in the EU. And the reason why they banned it, they say it's presumed toxic to human reproduction. They also have on here fragrance allergen. And they said fragrance allergen is a potential toxic. The ingredient suspected as toxic or alerts that may apply under certain conditions. And again, you can read more details to learn. And it lists a whole bunch of other chemicals. And as you click on those arrows, it will tell you more about that particular ingredient and why it's not safe for us. So as we consider and thinking about our products, we really need to educate ourselves, which I applaud you for doing that today. One other thing I want to share with you, the sister study. Many of us have gotten our hair dyed at some point in time in our life. And so what they looked at is women who are getting their hair permanently dyed over the course of 5 to 8 weeks for a 12-month or more period. And what they found, an alarming stat, was that Black women were 60% more likely to develop breast cancer, and white women, get this, you ready? Hold on to your seats. White women were 8% more likely to develop breast cancer. That's a huge difference, a huge disparity, which saying, again, the products that we're using as Black women are some of the most worrisome ingredients in these products that are affecting our health. And no wonder we have the highest toxic load. They also looked at chemical straighteners, and across the board, they found a 30% more likely to develop breast cancer. It didn't matter if you were white, Black, Hispanic, it didn't matter your race. Across the board, women were 30% more likely to develop breast cancer. But what they found in their study was Black women were more likely to use hair straighteners. Now, I will say this, and this is just my personal opinion. I think that, of course, it takes time for them to do studies. And since the Crown Act, for those who are not familiar with the Crown Act, pretty much it was a law that was passed that allowed us not to be discriminated against based on our natural hair. And not every state has employed the Crown Act, but I believe that as a result of the Crown Act, it allowed us to be able to wear our hair more natural. So hopefully we're not seeing as many women, if we were to do the study again, that are actually using these chemical straighteners. So let's talk about this. So fresh and so clean. When we hear the words clean, what do we really mean? Well, in our industry, unfortunately, when we think about clean, we think about things that are free of these harmful chemicals that are not affecting our health. But when we look at the industry, there is no regulated definition on the word clean. So what that says is this word is actually left to the interpretation of the company that is developing those clean products. And I use air quotes to clean. So it's important for us to learn about some of these ingredients that are being used so we can make safer choices. There was a study called the Hermosa study, and what they found in this study, which I thought was awesome, is that on average, when you actually are switching to natural products, they found a 27 to 45% reduction of chemicals that were actually found in the body. And that was within a few days. So again, when we make safer choices, it's so much better for our health. So what are we doing about this? What's being done about this problem? So as I mentioned before, I sit on the board for the Non-Toxic Black Beauty Project. And this actually started back in 2020 when George Floyd was murdered and Breonna Taylor was murdered. We said, okay, we need to do something. Something needs to be done about this. So the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics started looking at what was happening in the world of cosmetics for Black women. And what they found is on social media, there was all these Black influencers really promoting Black businesses, which was awesome. But the problem was a lot of the products that they were recommending for Black women, by Black women, unfortunately, and some of these products weren't by Black women, but they contained a lot of toxic ingredients. And so the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics said, we need to dig further into this and do something about this. This is an environmental injustice in the beauty industry, and we really need to address it. And so what they did is they created an advisory committee that's made up of nonprofit leaders, scientists, and those that are actually in the community working to really improve the health of Black women. And what we've done is we've created a database of over 80 safer Black beauty brands that were created by Black people for Black people. So right now in our database, we have over 800 products that, again, are safe for Black people, created by Black people. And the overall goal of this project was not only to build this database, but they also want to equip Black women with tip cards and resources so we can spread this message far and wide, getting the information out so that we know about the exposures that we've been, the unsafe products that we've been exposed to, and then what are the things that we can do to address it. They also want to grow the safe Black beauty industry, to be able to have more Black people creating more products intended for Black people to use. They also want to continue to raise more awareness around this problem. For years, white communities have talked about things that were, non-toxic, and they had all these different products out on the market, but they weren't familiar to our community. And so they're raising more awareness about this because it's a problem. We are being overexposed and underprotected. And they're also looking to expand something called the Red List. It's a list of chemicals of concern, which I'm going to show you in just a few what that actually looks like. So what are some other ways that you can take action? So again, first and foremost, you just being here today is a huge way to take action, to educate yourself. You got to know it's a problem before you can actually address the problem. So we need to get to know our ingredients. And we want to start with, how do we actually read those labels? So when you look at labels on your, ingredients, the products that you're using, typically the ones that's higher up on the list, so let's say the first 5 that may be listed, they have the highest concentration in that product that you're using. Another thing you want to be mindful of as you're looking to take action and make safer choices is something called greenwashing. Greenwashing is a form of advertising or marketing that is being used to deceive us, to make us think that these products are environmental friendly or safe for us to use. So some examples of this would be when they use green colors or brown or natural looking colors, or the lines and things, the way the font is, it's clean lines. It's not all these kind of crazy cool graffiti looking lines, but it's very clean in terms of how the product is, how the branding or the packaging looks. And then the imagery that they use, they may use earth type of images like trees or plants or some type of greenery, nature that they may use on these bottles. Or you may see things that says powered by plants. Again, this is a way, they call it greenwashing, a way for them to sell their products and have us to believe that the products are actually safe for us to use. Now, for those who are parents or caregivers of children, there is a guide that you can actually find on the Environmental Working Group. And we can get the link posted in the chat, but this is a great guide to help you to be able to protect your children or yourselves as you continue to look to make safer choices. So I mentioned the Red List, and this is exactly a snippet of what the Red List looks like. And like I said, it actually lists a lot of chemicals that are of concern, things we need to watch out for in our products. And so the way they list it, which I really love, is they break it down based on what that ingredient is typically found in. So where you see on this list where it says the Red List chemical, under that will be the name of the chemical. And then they would have an X mark where it says body care, hair care, makeup, nail products, skincare, or sunscreen. So they will identify where this chemical of concern is typically found. And you can find this list on safecosmetics.org/red list. Another thing is what I call healthy living applications. I mentioned Clearia earlier on. There's another one that you can actually download on your phone. It's called Think Dirty. And you can download Think Dirty, and Think Dirty will allow you to scan the barcodes that's on all of your products. Most of the products that we use have a barcode on there. And so you would download the app, you would select a button on your phone that says Scan Product. And when you click on the button to scan product, a window will pop up for you to actually scan the barcode from your phone. And when you do that, the product will come up and it'll tell you what's going on with that product. And so I did a screenshot of Drift. I was doing a presentation with some new moms, and so I wanted to show this particular product to them. So Drift is something that most new moms will use on their baby products to wash their clothes. And so if you see here, it's ranked as an 8. And the way Think Dirty works is it goes from 1 to 9. Anything that is green, it is clean, it's great to use. Anything that's yellow, it's somewhere in the middle. But anything that's red, I say red is dead or red is dirty, don't use it, okay? Because it's harmful to our health. So once you scan this, it's going to rank it. And once it ranks it, it's going to tell you how many ingredients they actually analyzed. So in this case, they analyzed 19 of the ingredients from this particular product. And when you scroll down, it's going to list all of those ingredients, and it's going to tell you what's going on with each ingredient. And as you can see here, the ingredient that is listed in red is a huge one, and it's fragrance. Fragrance is found in everything. It's in our hair care products, our skincare products, our makeup, trash bags. It's found in everything, and sadly, fragrance is not considered to be something that's good for us simply because we don't know the chemical makeup of that fragrance. Our regulatory authorities have given permission for these companies. They protect these companies that they don't have to reveal their recipe or their secret ingredients for their fragrance, because that's their intellectual capital. That is what makes their brand what it is. And that's what we buy into. And when we look over here, if we were to click on fragrance, you can see in this like yellow looking box, it gives us information about fragrance. And what it says is nearly 3,000, and I'll repeat that, 3,000 fragrant ingredients is added to most personal care products to either hide the odor or mask the odors, or to just give it a pleasant smell. And we as a society have been driven by aromas. We love things to smell good. I was guilty of that before I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was the girl, if the bottle was pretty, I bought it. When these companies had their major sales, towards Christmas time, after Christmas time, I was the one in line buying up everything. But what we have to understand is these things are actually affecting our health. And like I said, those 3,000 chemicals, and that's on average, and it's added to most of the personal care products. When we don't know what those 3,000 chemicals are, and again, many of those chemicals can be endocrine disrupting chemicals, which affects our hormone system. When it affects our hormone system, too much estrogen, which is a hormone that our body needs, put us at a greater risk for breast cancer. And so this is something that's really important. And if you look here on that yellow box, it says health impacts. Possible carcinogen is one of them. We also see skin irritation. We see respiratory problems. We see allergic reactions. And we're wondering, why are we having all of these issues that are arising in our homes, with our children, with ourselves, even as adults? We're being exposed to so many different ingredients, and it's affecting our health. So many different chemicals, and it's affecting our health. So as I mentioned before, the Clearia app, you can actually snap a picture of the product ingredients. And again, once you snap a picture of the product ingredients, it'll give you the information. They also have a Chrome extension, which at the end of this presentation, I'll show you what that looks like. I'll do a quick demonstration for you. But you can actually download the Chrome extension to your computer if you're a person that loves to shop online at like Target, Walmart, Sephora, Ulta, and Amazon. They will actually flag those products if you're putting those things in your carts. Again, tools that you can use to help you make safer choices. Another thing that you can do is look out for things that says free of. So free of what? Free of phthalate, so phthalate free, fragrance free, paraben free, or it may have the big 10 free. Or it can say the big 20 free or the big 5 free. So it's free of these different harmful chemicals that are known to cause different effects on our bodies. Plastics is another one. We want to get to know our plastics because a lot of the products that we're using also have these symbols on them, and we're not sure of what those symbols mean. So when we look at our plastics, for an example, and we use this in so many different things, they have a little square and a little rectangle. That rectangle is, a triangle. They have a triangle, and in that triangle, it represents recycling. So it's a recycling symbol, and they have numbers in them, and they have letters at the bottom. So when you look at that, if you see one that has a 3 in the recycling symbol, and it has a V or PVC at the bottom, you don't want to use those. If it has 1, 2, 4, or 5 with some other letters, those are fine to use, but I would stay away from anything that has 3 in it and it has a V in PVC. So not only are we trying to learn our ingredients, also the things that we're using to store our ingredients in. So what we highly recommend is to use more glass items. So what else can you do to take action? You know, I hear people say, well, this can be kind of expensive. It can be kind of pricey. Again, use your healthy living apps. I would say your homework assignment is to scan the top 5 to 10 products that you mentioned that you use on a daily basis. Go home, pull out the app or download the app on your phones and pull out your products and scan those barcodes so that you know what products you're using. I truly believe we can fight cancer or we can feed it. And so if we're making safer choices, we're fighting against it. If we're not making so much safer choices, then we're feeding it. And you want to take those ingredients that you scan, not only are you looking at them on those healthy living apps, but familiarize yourself with some of those chemicals. Pull out that red list that you can get from safecosmetics.org, pull down the red list and do a cross comparison. Look to see if any of those ingredients on your labels are found on that red list. Another thing you can do is simply reduce the number of products that you use as well as the frequency that you're using. So if you typically use 10 products a day, maybe let's scale back and use 5. Maybe just say, I'm going to use deodorant, I'm going to do lotion, I'm going to do soap, maybe a little bit of lipstick and a lip balm, versus putting on a full face every single day on top of all of the other things that I mentioned. Pull back on your perfumes, your fragrance, maybe only use it for special occasions or put a full face on for a special occasion. Maybe use just a small little eyeliner and a lip balm for your everyday wear. And then the other thing is reducing your exposures by just making your own products. In one of our workshops, we've taught, we teach young girls how to make their own skincare products, because again, this is something that we want to teach young girls how to reduce their risk of exposures. Another thing is product swap. I remember when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I had a friend that came over to my house and she was like, okay, I got a pen and pad, tell me everything. And she just was writing. And she, after she left me, because of course, seeing her friend go through a bout with breast cancer, it was scary to her. And so I remember her telling me she went to one of the natural stores here in Atlanta and she chucked everything. She got rid of every single thing in her home. She spent about $500 buying all of this stuff to replace her products. And I was like, no, it can be pricey when you do it that way. So what I tell people is just swap out your dirty products for your clean products. And the way that you can do it is you can start with the product that you use the most or that covers the majority of your skin. Or you can say, you know what, instead of me throwing everything out right now, let me just replenish when that bottle that I'm using, that bottle of Fabuloso that some of us may use, when we're finished with that bottle, replace it with something that's clean. Don't buy it again. Just replace it with something that's clean. Another way that we can address this issue is something called the Safer Beauty Bill package. And what this is there are 4 bills that have been introduced to Congress that's centered around makeup, the beauty industry, cosmetics, and personal care items. They want these products to be safe for everyone. And so we want to get these toxic chemicals out of these products. We want to reduce our chemical exposures, not only for us, but even those who are the most vulnerable, which would be our hairstylists and our nail technicians. And we want transparency with our ingredients. We want to know what is in the products that we're buying. 1, we want to make sure all the ingredients are on those products. And then 2, what are those ingredients that we're actually buying? And then the people who are actually making the products, when they're sourcing their ingredients from China or some other place, we want transparency in those, because what we recognize is while I'm the consumer buying the product from them, if something were to happen, I'm going after the company that made the product. But the company, if they don't know what they're sourcing, the ingredients that they're sourcing, there's no transparency, then it puts us all at risk. And so we want to make sure that there's more transparency, again, and that we're reducing these exposures and creating products that are safe for our community. And so in order to address this or to to back or support this, you can go to bcpp.org/take-action and submit a letter to your Congress. You don't have to write the letter. They have the letters pre-written for you. If you want to change up some of the words, you can. But again, this is where we get involved. So it's not only we are taking action at an individual level, but as a community, collectively, we're taking action to educate our community. And then also collectively as a community, we're addressing it at the policy level because laws need to be changed. As I mentioned early on, outside of what they passed, the Modernization Cosmetic Act last year, it took them over 80 years to pass a bill around the safety and the usage of cosmetics. That is a problem. So get involved, and get involved. And so I hope that today, I know this was a lot of information that I shared with you, but I definitely want to open it up for questions. But I hope that you will take time to get involved, that I was able to plant a seed to open up your eyes if you weren't aware that a lot of the products that we're using are indeed unsafe, and that you will take action. You will start, scanning your app, download the app, scan the apps. You will take action. You will talk to your friends about it. I never leave any kind of workshop without doing a call to action. And so I would love for you to either, post on your social media pages and tag us. One thing that you learned today that you're going to start implementing after today's program, #CommitToClean, or you can post it in the chat. Tell us what you're going to do starting from today to make safer choices. So one thing I did want to show you, as I mentioned before, I wanted to give you, show you what that application looks like. Let's see if I can pull it up on my screen. Give me 1 second. I think it's in the Zoom. I had it up and I must have moved it. Okay, I'll just open it. Go to Target. And so if I were to look for a product, so I have the Chrome extension downloaded on my computer and I'm going to pick Tide. And so what it's going to do is, you can see here, it was scanning and it says see alerts. So before I even put this in my cart, it's showing me what's going on with this product. And it gives me the alert. So it has this chemical in it, sodium borate. And so if I click, it's going to tell me what's going on with this product. So again, it's presumed to be toxic to human reproduction. It was also prohibited in the EU. And as I mentioned, there are 1,300 chemicals that were banned in the EU, only 11 in the US. So that tells us there's a problem right there. Again, here's some more information. It has fragrance, potential allergens. So it lists the different ingredients. So again, this is just one way to use this particular app. There's so many other apps that are out there, but these are some really good apps that I highly recommend you all to take time to look at and explore. So we'll go ahead and open it up for questions and see if anyone has questions. And by the way, this is also, if you scan this, you'll get a little gift from us, which will be a list of all of those different apps along with the QR codes that you could actually download on your phone. All right, well, thank you, everyone. I'll see if anyone has any questions. Someone said, I'm going to start double checking my items before I purchase them. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Someone asked about the resource guide. Yes, so if you scan that QR code, and I can post this link in the chat, and then you can actually get a list of those products that I mentioned. All right. I'll see if anyone has any questions. Now I'll go ahead and get that link posted for us in the chat. So someone said, what's the name of the website again? And I think you're talking about what I just showed you on the Target So Clearia, again, you'll get the links when you click on that, the link I just posted in the chat. Clearia is something that you can download on your app, or they have a Chrome extension. So if you go to their website, you can download the Chrome extension and it'll sit on your computer. And once you have it on your computer, you can actually take that information, and when you're shopping, it'll pop up and show you what's going on. It'll alert you what's going on. Someone asked a question about deodorant and what's best. So deodorant has been like, I get asked that question all the time. And I don't really say which one is best, because when it comes to something being clean, of course, you can use the apps to determine which one is clean. But when it comes to the one that is the best for you, you would have to test them out. I've tested out so many different deodorants, and in terms of which ones hold the best, I use Native. That's one that I've used that I found to be a little bit better in terms of it holding. Some people have used Schmidt, some people have used Tom's. One thing you want to be mindful of, even with these products, and this is why it's important for us to get educated, because some of these companies, even if they're Black owned, they will have a great product, a nice product, a safe product, but then they get bought out by the bigger companies that typically don't make these safe products. So it's important for you to kind of stay in the know and research this, use these safer apps to help you be able to make better choices when it comes to the products. But in terms of the deodorant, I get asked that all the time. And again, you would have to see what works best for your body. And then also, again, use those apps to help you identify which one of the products that are safe. And I'll say this, and I don't think I mentioned it earlier, when you use the Think Dirty app or even the Clearia app, they will actually give you alternatives. So that's another reason why I like those apps. They will give you alternatives. So they don't just say, hey, these aren't good because they have these harmful ingredients in them, but they will also say, here's some ones that are safer for you to use. Any other questions? All right. Well, I just want to say thank you again for your time. Be sure to click on the link that I've posted in the chat so that you can get access or get the list of all of those different resources that I've mentioned today on today's call. And again, commit to clean. This is something that's important. We're the decision makers for our kids. We are the ones, not only our children in our homes. So again, educate your girls. You got daughters that's going off to college. You have teen girls. You have, preteen girls. Educate them about these things, because again, it's affecting their health. And we're wondering why our young girls are, starting their periods at 8 and 9, and they're seeing this in the science and the research that it's even more prevalent in the Black community. And when you look in our community, sadly, we have beauty supply stores everywhere, and God knows what kind of ingredients are being used on a lot of the products that are in those stores. So again, educate, share this information far and wide, stay connected to us. We're going to be doing some great things next year. If you're interested in this movement, to really educate our community, get plugged in, get connected to us, and we'll keep you all informed of what we have coming out next year to help address this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Tia.
Absolutely.
I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
I know you got a long day ahead of you.
Yeah. Thank you.